Good evening, everyone, and I pray to God you're doing well. My name is Sandra E. Jackson, and the E stands for ecstatic because I am ecstatic to be alive, and I pray to God you are as well. Tonight, it affords me a great pleasure to introduce to those that do not know her and to others who know her, Professor Michelle Yeshurel.
Yisrael.
Yes, you are. So thank you so much for being here. And how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful, and thanks for inviting me.
You're so welcome. It's my honor and pleasure. You
That's
have
funny because I feel honored also.
very good. You have an art piece. It's it's a little book, but it's jam packed. The title of this book is The Enemy Within. And I know you're asking the questions, what does she mean by enemy? I'm going to ask everyone that would like to comment to please to click this link so your comments can be on the screen. All right, the enemy within. Can you tell us how you came up with this title?
Yes, I can. I titled the book after I finished writing it, and I thought about the name of the character. The main character in the book is Simka. Simka is a grandmother, and Simka had a very tumultuous life because of her relationship with her husband, and she kept journals. So, and her daughter, she always kept her journals tucked away, hidden, so she didn't want anybody knowing. She didn't want anybody to read them. Her granddaughter found her journals, and when she found her journals, she asked what they were and if she could read them. And the grandmother Simka, the daughter's name is Zahara. Simka, the grandmother, thought it was a good idea that her granddaughter read her journals so that she wouldn't make the same mistakes that she did as a young woman. So she was saving them for a teaching tool. And this was her opportunity to kind of break generational curses.
Wow, that's
Oh,
that's pretty deep. You know, when
yeah.
I'm gonna go to like the first page because the first sentence just snatched me right in. And I'm going to read it for you. It
Okay.
says, I hope nobody will ever have to look at anybody they love through the eyes of an evil spirit.
Yeah.
My mind went to so many things when I read that.
Mm-hmm.
I envisioned a woman who loved her husband dearly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I envisioned a woman who did not get the love reciprocated that
Absolutely.
she so desired. In
You
that
hit the nail
first,
on the head.
yeah,
And eventually, after a while, she knew that what she was experiencing as an abused wife was not right. And because she read the Bible as he did, because he was a minister, he taught other people. He even in the book it talked about him being a marriage counselor. And so after she always knew it was wrong, but honestly, the character thought, as many of us do, that she could change him based on her love.
hmm,
We think we're all that, right?
yeah, yeah.
But our
Well,
mothers already,
I think we have, I think we have confidence in the term love.
we
It's a
do.
small letter, it's a short
Yeah,
word
we
with
do.
4 letters, and
Hmm.
but it's powerful. It's a
I like
powerful,
that. Yeah, we
and
have
so as
confidence in the
children,
word love. Yeah, we
yeah,
think
we have
that
confidence.
we can change anything through love. But what about the love of self?
Mm,
Isn't that love too? And how can we love someone else or even teach them how to love us if we don't love ourselves? Right?
that's it.
So
That's it right there.
yeah,
So what you're
yeah.
saying is love starts in here first before
Love
you can
starts here
even
first.
think about
Love starts here with you and God, with yourself and God. That's the relationship that we need to build, and then we can reach out and build a marriage, a relation, another kind of relationship. But it
it.
needs to start with ourselves, and we need to allow God inside of us so that He can teach us how to love.
Exactly. And he is the only one that can teach us love, you know.
Because in John it says God is love. It's supposed to start right there. And it with if you are, if there's anybody who is a wife of a minister, I was, and so is the character in the book, um, then we should see love in our husbands, especially if he's a minister teaching other people. And there's some things that we should see. And we don't even have to say what they are, but I can. But we know what they are. If somebody's screaming at you all the time and putting you down and calling you outside of your name, that's not love. That's not love at all, and we know that.
Exactly. Um, you know, we're taught from a young age, from when we're little girls, about love because our parents show us love.
They do.
So the type of love that we're used to from our childhood, we think it's going to carry on in our marriage, and sometimes it doesn't.
That's
Sometimes,
true. But then on the other hand, some of us don't experience that.
true.
Some of us don't have a loving mother. Some
Hmm.
of us don't have a father at all. Some
Hmm.
of us have a father and mother, but what we see is the father treating the wife, their mother, in a bad way, and we think it's okay. So it's just many different scenarios that
Correct.
we can talk about, just many.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say is the people that experience love in their homes from their parents, from their youth, they anticipate on the same type of love that their parents displayed in the
Yeah,
home. And
yeah.
then when they don't receive that, they're taken aback. And then
Hmm.
sometimes there are individuals who never see their mother and father in a loving relationship. So
Hmm.
then they pick those tools up as well. And
Yeah,
then there's others from a broken home. And
yeah,
so they don't know how to love, right? And
yeah.
so what I want to do today is um, I would like to ask everybody to take self inventory.
Hmm.
I want you to find out what your love language is.
Hmm.
I would like for you to do self inventory to see if you know what true love is or if you need to do more research
Hmm.
and more prayer and more seeking God to find out because we don't want to offend. If
Yeah,
you're living in a home with someone, you want that home to be peaceful, right?
you do.
Yeah. And so that's what you were dependent upon when you were a little girl.
Yes.
Married to this young man. And can you tell me um, how deeply did you love him?
Most women who are either emotionally or physically abused, they love their partner very deeply. And yeah, so we have to understand though, and these are some things that our mothers and fathers need to teach us.
Yes.
A young woman who has a loving father and a loving mother, both the parents are in the home, they get themselves into abusive situations too, but they are least likely to do it
Hmm.
because they have some tools, especially if they're close to their father.
Hmm.
One thing that I would suggest to young women is that if you're dating somebody, let that person meet your father, if you have one. If you have a brother, an older brother, let him meet your brother, your uncles. What men are in your lives? What family friends does your family have that are men? Let those men that love you meet him, because they'll be able to read him. And we know that a friendship, marriage, and any relationship, it doesn't hurt. It feels good. A healthy relationship does not hurt. So we have to listen to our gut, because we know in the beginning, we feel it in our gut what this could be. We know what it is, but we don't always act on it. There's a message there. That's God speaking to us. And we, for some reason, we don't tend to follow our guts. For me, I didn't follow my gut because I wanted to be married. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have a family. And I honestly, I said earlier as we were waiting in the waiting room that some of us, including me, we think we're all that. We think our love is enough to change an adult person that's already been raised. And I'm going to tell you, it's not.
It's not enough.
It's not enough.
Well, you know what I found out? Um, and I learned it through various people. I know I heard Steve Harvey say it and Tyler Perry said it, that um, if you are a number five and the individual that you form a relationship is a number three or number two or number one, they can never love you the way you need to be loved.
Very true.
And what I came to realize is it their fault? Is
No,
it
because
really
we
their
need
fault?
to we need to stand up and be honest with ourselves and say early on before marriage, we need to examine, our relationships before marriage. We need to be honest and with ourselves. Once we're honest with ourselves, then we can be honest with that person and just say this is not working and this is not going to work and these are the reasons why. And we may need to seek counsel.
Mm-hmm.
We may need to seek spiritual counsel or counsel from someone in your family who loves you to help make that decision.
There's a question on here, was a statement, but you can tell her because she's a 20-year-old, all right? She said, I don't know if this view is right, but I don't view it as my job to try to change people. What would you say to that?
She's correct. We can only change ourselves. So if you see that you're in a struggling relationship and there is some tumultuous and challenging behavior that hurts you, then we don't need to try and fix it because we can't. But we need to think about these things early on before marriage.
Mm-hmm.
We always talk about the divorce rate in our communities, how high it is. But that divorce rate would not be so high if we took our time in the beginning before marriage.
Or marriage. Listen to this. Amanda says, great tips. We always need the guidance and reminders. Sometimes we need help recognizing the signs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wrote a chapter in Mirtha Du Bois's My Hidden Strength,
Mm-hmm.
and the title is Don't Ignore the Signs.
Don't ignore them.
Many of us are guilty. We
We
have
are.
ignored so many signs.
We
Why?
are.
Why do we ignore them? And you said one reason earlier. You
Another
said
reason is that we don't want to be alone.
we don't want to be alone.
We fear being alone.
Yes.
But there is power in being alone. It's a great opportunity. The person who asked the question talked about it's not up to us to change anybody, but being alone is a perfect opportunity to pray, draw close to God so he can draw close to us. That's in James, right? In the
Right.
first chapter of James, and to get to know who we are and to learn how to enjoy life. I have a niece. My niece is about 34, 35. And I'm telling you, she goes everywhere by herself.
Mm.
If she can't get anyone to go with her, she'll go by herself. What she's doing is she's getting to know herself. She'll be able to say, no, I don't like that activity, or I love that one, because and she's getting a variety of experiences, and she's meeting new people in these different
That's phenomenal.
paths that
Yeah,
she's
that's
going
phenomenal.
on. So yeah, we need to value the time of being alone instead of fearing it.
All right. Somebody said my love language is mostly spending time. Can you clarify that? 30%. Can clarify that for me. And then listen to this. Yes, and if you are connected with someone who says they don't want to change, run. That's
Oh,
great advice.
run fast.
I said,
Run
put on
quick,
your roller
run
skates,
fast.
honey, and go
Yeah,
real quickly,
run
right?
quick and run
Yes.
far.
She said we should all be seeking to better ourselves
Yeah,
individually and to improve our relationships.
and
Now,
that
it's
leads me
so
to
funny
this thought.
because one moment. It's so funny that she said that because I just did a video because I'm going to a summit in Atlanta at the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
and I entitled the video "What Do You See?"
Mm-hmm.
What do you see?
Okay.
And I was talking about being our best selves.
Mm-hmm.
We have to begin looking in the mirror at ourselves to see what's really there, not what we project is there, not what we want to be there,
We do.
because most people tend to think they're good.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask anybody on the street and do a survey and ask them, tell me about your personality, nine
Mm-hmm.
times out of 10, 100%, they're going to be like, I'm good. I'm a good person. I do good things. But is it really about the things you do, or is it what's in between your ears?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, seeking a better self is what we're all supposed to do.
Yeah.
And what I said in relationship, you want to get, and then they're free, 5 strategies of Sandra's strategies for loving yourself and loving life. And what I say in there is when you're in a relationship, your obligation is to do the best you can for your partner. For your partner. It's not
Yeah.
looking to yourself to do. So the partner is supposed to work to do what's best for you,
Mm-hmm.
and you're supposed to work 100% to do what's best for your partner.
Right. Yeah. I wanted to say that nobody is perfect, and there's not really a perfect potential mate. But you talked a lot about working on yourself, improving yourself. Is that person that you're trying to form a relationship also admitting their faults? Are they also working on themselves? If they are, you can work with that person. You can grow and change together. But if they have a fault and they don't want to admit it and they can't talk about it, it upsets them. If you try and talk about it in a kind and loving way, that's a warning right there. That's a warning. That will only grow. What would you mentioned that people that are in relationships should think about the other? What would happen if a husband and a wife wake up every morning and he's thinking about what would make her smile that
Come
day?
on. Come
And
on.
she's thinking about what would make him smile that day. She's not thinking about what he needs to do to make me happy. And he's not thinking about what she needs to do to make me happy. They're thinking about the other person. What would happen in a household like that?
Do you know how many marriages will still be together if that were the
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
The divorce rate would not be on
It
an
would not
all-time
be
high.
low. It would not be high. Absolutely.
Victoria says that's a big fear for a lot of people. For some
Hmm.
reason, they don't think that they can handle it. I've never understood feeling that way, but I know it's hard for those people.
Yeah, because change is hard. Admitting something in you needs to change, it's difficult. Change is painful.
It is.
But if you are trying to form a relationship with someone who embraces that pain of change and works to change himself or herself and communicates openly and freely about that change, then you can work with that person.
Yes, I was just watching a video about cultural differences of marriages between the West and Korea. The
Hmm.
main thing said was that in the West we romanticize
Yes,
that we what we what we get out of relationships.
we do.
So, yeah, you understand what she's saying?
Yeah, I do because if I could marry, who's the father on Little House on the Prairie?
Oh,
Carl. If I
yeah,
could marry him, but I'm telling you, his real life, he was very imperfect. He was the exact opposite husband and father than was portrayed on my favorite show.
come
I
on,
still watch Little House on the Prairie.
true,
If he
true,
could walk past me, I'd say yes, I'll marry him. But
true.
so we have to look past what we see. We have to look past what we see, and we have to be honest about what it is that we see.
Correct. And even the father on Bill Cosby show, like he was the
Yeah,
perfect dad,
there
you
you
know.
go.
And
Another
so,
perfect
yeah, and
example.
everybody wanted a father like Bill Cosby. But
Perfect
that's
example.
perception, right? And so she
It,
said,
both
however,
of
in
those were
Korea,
really good scripts.
right, very good scripts, correct.
Good scripts.
However, in Korea, the emphasis is on how much you can give to the other spouse.
And
So
that's
it's
what
funny
I
to,
just said.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
makes sense to me.
It makes very much sense. And listen to what Amanda said, Dr. Michelle. You are sharing some great wisdom this evening.
Praise God. Hallelujah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
learned my lessons hard.
Yes. And
Yeah,
so, yeah. And so you paid for it
yeah.
throughout your marriage.
Yeah, and
Suffered
I
and you
must
had
honestly also
children.
say that the older women in my life, when I was a younger woman, they were not completely honest with me. I was not prepared.
Hmm.
So I try and do the opposite, and hopefully I don't over prepare.
Exactly. And
But
overwarn people
yeah,
because, you know,
I don't want to overwarn, but I
yeah,
do want to warn. So it's a fine line.
it
I don't
is.
want to be quiet, and I see somebody that I love. I see them going down the wrong path.
Hmm.
I just want to say something.
Right. I'm telling you,
And then if they continue to go down that path, I want them to know that once if they realize when they realize whether it's tomorrow or 10 years from now, you can always come to me. I'm
true.
here for you.
That's right. Yeah.
When you see what I see, I'm here for you.
My goodness. Look at this. Beverly Renford. She says, I believe that a spouse should formulate the relationship to please their partner or spouse and vice versa,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
When each person is self serving, a breakdown is inevitable. Now, that's 100% true.
We just said that. You said in Korea, the each spouse think of each other, and I just said if we could wake up thinking about that our spouses, we just said the same thing. It
The
is
same thing.
true.
Yes.
We
Uh,
have confirmed it. The
and
scripture
then,
says out of the mouth of two or more. That's three
exactly.
witnesses right here.
Exactly. And then my friend I met in Cancun is on. How are you, Gene? He says a good relationship is a collaborative effort,
Yeah,
which means it takes two to tango.
it takes two.
Hmm.
It cannot be just one. That's a complete imbalance. If the husband is trying too hard and the wife is not, she's not putting in the energy, or vice versa. If she's putting in
Exactly.
all the energy and he's not. Because what I've also learned in my adulthood was there are some men who are being abused too. I
That's
witnessed
what
it
we
with
were.
my own eyes. And I was just so surprised because I did not know that some men are also being abused. I have a friend, well, part of being in an abusive relationship is the spouse isolates you from your family and friends. So he was isolated from his friends, me and a couple of other people. But I witnessed him. She would not agree with whatever was going on in the household that day. So she would pick a fight, literally physically fight him. And so he would grab her hands, holding her back and trying to keep him off of her, and then grabbing her hands, grabbing her arms right here. She was light skinned and bruised. So she would take those, and then she would hit at him, and then he would try and grab her. So he may have scratched her a little bit trying to grab her, but she would take those scratches and bruises and call the police and say that he abused her, and they would take him out of the house and take him to jail for the weekend. And
Wow.
he stayed because he feared that if he left, he had two small children who
Mhm.
lived in that house, and he loved his children. He liked working evenings and spending the day walking his children to school, volunteering in their classrooms, walking them home and feeding them dinner. And then he went to work at night. So he liked to do that. And he knew of a surety that if he would leave, then he was not going to be able to spend that quality time with his little son and little daughter, because we know what a lot of women do. They use their children as pawns. So he was abused. I witnessed it. There was nothing I can do about it.
So Victoria says, very, very, very true. Their abusive actions are oftentimes looked over and overlooked and scoffed at because they're a male figure, and a man is supposed to be strong and
And they don't want anybody
breadwinner
to
and all
know.
of that, cliche that goes along with it.
Yeah,
There
and it.
are a whole society of men who get
Mhm.
abused on a daily basis.
All the time.
Wow. And so
Yeah,
we're covering some very
we covered
uh,
some good
very
topics.
important
Yeah,
topics. Amanda says preparation is very valuable.
very
So
valuable.
important that you learn to listen. Listening is number one for me.
Mhm.
Listening to the warnings from more experienced people in our youth to save the world of pain. And that is
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah. And you can't go after, you know, what you physically see. Some people are very cute. They're fine even.
Yes.
A man might he just might look so delicious. However,
Come on, Professor.
but in reality, watch his behavior.
Yes.
Watch how he treats other people around him. Watch how he treats his mother, his sister. Watch how he treats his neighbor. Watch him and
And
listen.
another thing, watch how he treat the people he interact with in business.
Exactly.
Now
You will
that
see,
is key
yes, you will
because
see what you need to say to see
ooh,
if you're honestly watching and observing. You'll
yes,
see it.
yes, it can't hide for so long.
It
Sometimes
can-
they hide for 15 years and then poof, it comes out and
Isn't that sad?
yeah,
Isn't that really sad?
manipulation,
And that's what I
manipulation.
mean about the enemy within,
Yes,
because in that person there is a spirit,
yes,
an evil spirit. I don't know if everybody believes in good and bad spirits, but Jesus put a few bad spirits in a herd of pigs, and he's the same today, yesterday, and tomorrow.
and
So we get these
forevermore.
evil, and I think what happens is we make a decision one day to choose right and wrong. We choose wrong. The next day we make a decision to choose wrong over right and wrong. And once you practice that, that gives those evil spirits a place to live.
You said live. You didn't say visit. You didn't say go on vacation.
Live
You
the
said
enemy
reside.
within.
Yes,
That's why I named the book The Enemy Within.
enemy within. We're
Because
not
when that
talking
woman
about
experience and sees the way this husband is treating her and her children, that's the enemy. He's got that evil spirit that won't allow him to change himself, and is right there in her house.
you were born in Chicago,
I was born in Chicago,
and where do you live now?
in West Woodlawn.
So she was born in Chicago, she was raised in Chicago, and she remains in Chicago.
I'm in Chicago, but I love Chicago. I love the snow. I hate the bitter cold. I love the things that you can do in the spring, summer, and fall. I love looking out my front window and seeing this big tree in the window change every season of the year. I love when the snow falls on it, the leaves fall and they're green and orange and red. And then in the springtime, they're green again. I like the budding. So I love Chicago, but the older I get, I need a winter home
Yes,
where
and
I'm
I want
thinking
you to get
maybe
a yes, I want
the
you
middle of December through March. I need to be somewhere else.
yes, I agree. I want to stop right now and pause and provide the opportunity because this is a live book signing. I want to provide the opportunity for you to go and purchase this amazing book. It's only 14.99. 14.99. This book interested me from the first sentence, you all. I can't go into all of the detail because it's still fresh with her and she's still living it. But I want you to find out the details because she puts it in here. She still wants to protect her husband. She still wants to protect her children. And she doesn't want it to go on such a large platform. All right. But if you get the book, you will be able to read what this woman endured. She endured some hard, tough situations, just like we are enduring today. Now, I would like to speak to the women that out there that you're still in there. You're in there and you don't know what to do. You don't know how to get out. You don't know if help is coming. I want to tell you help is on the way because nothing stays the same forever. I am a witness. You're looking at a face right now that went through some hard trials and tribulations within a marriage. But God helped me. And I stand before you today. This lady, she's a professor. She went to school. She had an education. She raised how many children?
Five. I have five
Five
adults.
children. And so I want to talk to you, talk about your beautiful children, because when you told me about them, uh, it was remarkable to me, the things you said about your children. And that's what children are supposed to do. Victoria has placed the information on the screen. She's saying, get your copy now. Go to Amazon. You can type in The Enemy Within by Michelle, and it will come up. We put the link there for you. You can copy it and paste it. Amanda says 14.99. Look at that. 14.99. That's not that's a little small price for what you're going to get in here. She provides wisdom. Um, we're supposed to get wisdom from our elders, and she provides wisdom how to interact between a relationship, what to do when this happened to you, how she did it. She tells you the steps of how she she had children that she had to protect, and a mother that loves their children will do anything to protect them. And she talks about what she did to protect her sons and her daughters. And she tried her level best. But as we know, in a relationship, you can only protect so much. And then some things get by.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel like we are that umpire or we are that attorney or whatever to try to protect people. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. But God has placed this professor here to write to you, telling you that you can survive
Yeah. And
in
thrive.
mountainous
You
situations.
can survive and thrive, and you can be happy. I know the first 10, I want to, before I talk about my children, I want to say this. Um, my ex husband, he's deceased. He's been deceased maybe 6 years now. And, but he was a minister. And he actually helped a lot of people. He taught a lot of people. They didn't know his behavior at home because I didn't tell them. And even if I had told them at the time, they were not going to be able to do anything about it. So in him being deceased, it's not that I'm trying to protect him. I don't think it's my role to destroy relationships that he had with other people, because their value of him is real. So it's not that I'm trying to protect him, because he's deceased. Um, I didn't even try and protect him when he was alive, but I'm not going to defend myself to anybody. You know
Right.
what I mean? And
Yes.
that's the mindset I had once I woke up and realized what I was dealing with. That's the mindset I had, and that's the mindset that I have. It is not up to me to destroy relationships that he had with other people. And there are some people that love him. I see them in the stores all the time. From time to time, they say, "Oh, and they're so happy to see me. Oh, your husband, the brother was so nice, and he was so great, and he was this and this and this." But I let them say what they say. I don't try and change their minds, because what use is it? You know, this is about me. This is about me finding God and finding myself and helping my children to recover and to heal from their experiences in the household, so that they can find God. And they have not left the church. When I say find God, I mean it's deep. Jesus said the Pharisees, the scribes and Pharisees, they knew the law and they did it perfectly, letter by letter, but they still killed him. So there was something in them outside of their religion and lifestyle that did not allow them to behave in a more perfect way. They did not have the fruits of the spirit. So in me trying to be a woman of God and grasping hold and improving the way that I live and follow and behave like I have the fruits of the spirit, it's not up to me to neither protect him nor to tell other people that loved him that you shouldn't love him because he was this, and he was that. But that's not my role. I'm not gonna put that kind of negativity,
Mhm.
in my life, because I live a good life. I'm happy. I've never
Because
been
God delivered
happier.
you. Yeah, God delivered you. And so
Yes,
Amanda says, simply share the truth with boldness from your perspective, because only
yes.
you know your true experience,
And
journey,
hopefully
and
that's what I'm doing. I had a bad experience,
feeling.
but every marriage is not bad. I know people, brothers and sisters, men and women, who have a good marriage.
Exactly. But
So
what we
every
want to
mess.
do is we want to let the women out there that's living that type of situation that you and others went through. I am one as
Mhm.
well. We went through some stuff, and
Yes,
it's all right to talk about it.
it
I'm
is
just
okay.
saying now, it's all
And
right
there
to
was
talk
a
about it
while
because it's cathartic.
before I wrote that book, I didn't want to talk about it.
I know you
It,
didn't.
it, it, it made me angry if I talked
Mhm.
about it. It made me sad. It hurt me if I talked about it. But now I can talk about it. I wrote about it.
Exactly.
You
What I would
know,
like for you to do right now is to read the poem that you put in here.
I'm gonna have to leave the camera just for a second because I
That's
left it
fine.
over here on the table. I'll be
That's
right
fine.
back. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
At this time, we're going to invite Pastor Renford in, and she's going to do our current events. Greetings.
Okay. I
Greetings.
oh, greetings.
Pastor Renford, she's going to
All
do our
right,
current
let's do
event.
it. Let's do it. Current events. In Christian news, a Nigerian journalist headed to trial in Nigeria after he was arrested for reporting about attacks against predominantly Christian communities. According to the Christian Post, the Catholic journalist was arrested in November of 2021. His trial was scheduled for yesterday, September 6th. On changing the charges that they put up, fake charges, were for cyber stalking and aiding and abetting the offenses of cybercrime. Luca, a devout Catholic Nigerian award-winning journalist, has worked with the news and has had 26 years of experience in Nigeria with the newspaper. They still arrested him. He is a human rights reporter who is facing prison after writing an article in which the Nigerian government was criticized for its inaction in the face of an ongoing threat to Christian communities. A kidnapped nun has been freed and found alive and safe after 5 months of captivity, and she
Hallelujah.
will eventually return back to the United States. Her order announced that she was abducted on April 4th of this year in Africa. The FBI said at least 10 armed men stormed the convent, taking only her. She is a U.S. member of her Order of the Marianites of Holy Cross, which was reported in the Clarion Herald, a newspaper in the Archdiocese of New Orleans, where I just came from.
Awesome.
Wow.
United States news. On Wednesday, President Joe Biden announced a plan for student loan relief debt measures, including the cancellation of up to $20,000 in debt for some, the operative word is some,
Mm.
Americans. The Education Department estimates 27 million borrowers qualified to benefit by $20,000 in this relief endeavor of assisting borrowers who are struggling with their repayment obligation. Not everyone qualifies.
Mm.
Many opinions arise about what that means for future taxpayers. They're very concerned about those that are not born yet, maybe toddlers now, and people who, when they become of college age, will they be able to afford college themselves because they will be saddled with the tax bill. In worldwide news, brush fires in Australia due to prolonged droughts around the country, flash floods in Indonesia. A heavy downpour caused the rivers to overflow, precipitating the devastating flash floods in Jakarta and neighboring areas. In our country, they're having the fires, and two people, I believe, was burned up today. Staying there watching too long, and then trying to get away, underestimating the speed of a rapid fire. So we're
Wow.
praying for them. COVID-19 in China and all over the world. The first coronavirus case was identified in Wuhan, China. No one knew how impactful this virus would be globally and futuristically. They're still trying to find out what's going to happen in the next 40 years based on people that had COVID now because it's in their body and it's active. Even if they're healed of it, it's there dormant. Volcano eruption in the Philippines. With more than 20 active volcanoes in the Philippines, the country is constantly at risk of catastrophe. And our final current event in local news, Monroe County, Rochester, New York. Rochester's homicides for 2020 stand at 44 and growing. A man was fatally shot on Lyle Avenue early Sunday morning amid an ongoing wave of violence that includes the homicide Thursday night of a Rochester police officer. So not only people, lay people or civilians, but the police are being killed also, and people, they seem to not have a heart. So we are praying about this violence.
Yeah. Yes.
Indeed. We thank you so
In
much for the
Jesus'
current
name.
events. It's very important for us to hear what's going on around the world. Thank you
Hmm.
so much, and may God bless you. I will
God
invite
bless.
you back soon.
Okay.
All right. You have the poem. It is so beautiful.
Yes, I do. And I must say, I wrote this poem before I wrote the book. Um, Maybe even a few years before I wrote the book. But when I wrote the book, when I wrote the poem, I cried. I mean, I wept. This poem made me so sad as I was writing it, but I had to get it out. However, when I included it in the book, I included it in the front of the book because once I finished the book, this poem empowered me.
Yes.
I had completely different feelings and thoughts about it.
Yes.
Instead of making me sad and weep, it empowered me. And I enjoyed it. I'm like, oh, that's a nice piece of work.
Exactly.
So, okay, so it's called A Woman's Prayer of Hope. And before I read it, I must say that it reminds me of the poem by Langston Hughes. The
Hmm.
name of his poem was Mother to Son.
Hmm.
And one of the lines in the poem says, "Life ain't been no crystal stair." But when I wrote this poem, life was not a crystal stair for me. But when I included it in the book, life had changed. Life had changed, and I felt like I was walking on a crystal stair. A woman's prayer of hope. Now I lay me down to sleep. My faith in God I hope to keep. Filled with hurt and still down deep. Filled with all the victories I reap. A careful blend of life's many spices. Walking the straight and narrow, avoiding Satan's devices. Turning away from all evil entices. Obedience is better than any sacrifices. If I should die before I wake, I pray for forgiveness of any mistake. Seeking New Jerusalem and escaping the lake, save me, Father, for your name's sake. Guide my husband as he is my head, leading with benevolence, as your word said. Now I lay me down to rest. I pray that I have passed my test. Bless my children from any heartache. Bless them, Jesus, so they too may partake. Now I lay me down to sleep. Comfort me, Father, so no longer I weep. If I should die before I wake, into your kingdom, me, please take.
Wow. I'm going to ask you to talk about I pray that I have passed my test.
Yeah, because if the things I've experienced in life was a test, I hope I passed it. And then the poem also says that I pray that you forgive me for any mistake I made. And on the day that I wrote this, I was deep in. I must have done something for me to have to live this way. But when I included in the book some years later, I didn't have that thought and feeling anymore. My mistake was, I realized, was staying in a relationship that did not feed me and empower me, staying with someone who did not love me like I am supposed to be loved. And I would say the same thing if I were a male. Don't stay with somebody that doesn't love you. I don't think the Father wants that for our lives.
I don't.
I just don't think so. And
No.
yes, the scripture says that the Lord hates putting away. That means he hates divorce. But in Moses' day, he had to allow them to give the women a bill of divorcement. And he said, it's because you're going to torture him if I don't allow it. He
Can I
really
make a point? Can
do
I
it.
can I make a point?
Yes.
Many people, they harp on the Lord don't like divorce. But I want to tell you all, the Lord does not, he's not pleased with marriages that are um,
No,
painful,
I don't think
right?
so either. I don't think that's
Certainly,
what he wants for his daughters
the
or the
Lord is not pleased with arguing and
I don't
fighting
think
in the
so.
home. The Lord is not pleased
Mhm.
with partners not
No,
speaking to each other, uh,
no,
not even for an hour, a minute,
no.
a second.
How
God
about
is
6
not
months?
pleased with the man not taking his part and the woman not taking. There's a lot of things that
Yeah.
God is not
He's not
pleased
pleased
with,
with I don't
but
think he's
that
pleased
does
with
not
that.
stop anybody
Mhm.
from doing it
Yeah,
because they
and
only harp on the thing that God does not like divorce. But God does not like you treating your spouse incorrectly either because
does
that
not like any of it.
to God. How about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. How about that?
Hmm.
How about that? He doesn't
I
like
just
any
preached
of it.
a mini sermon.
So, yeah. So, once when I included it in the book, years later after I wrote the book, that line, I prayed for forgiveness for any mistake.
Yes.
And one mistake was allowing myself to be uh, emotionally abused because he didn't beat me physically. But I'm gonna tell you, those scars, they are embedded and they are so hard to heal. Even today, as empowered as I feel and as happy as I am, I still have triggers. and
See, so
allowing my sons and daughters to experience, the things that they experience too. But that's their story.
yeah, and I want to touch this too because I was married before, and the
Mhm.
silence of a wife goes very deep.
Very deep.
And one time somebody looked in my eyes and
Hmm.
they said, I can look in your eyes
Yes.
and see complete sorrow.
Yes.
So you can't get away with it. Even
No.
though the wife says nothing,
Hmm.
I have discernment. I could look at a person and tell they're
Yeah.
suffering greatly.
Yeah.
But what is my position? Do I say something? Do I not say something? What do we do?
Well, I think we should just, you can't really say anything, depending on how close to them you are, but you can just let them know, make it known to them that you are there for them. Make it known that you love them, because what an abuser does is isolate you from your family and friends.
Hmm.
Don't allow her to isolate you, because she's isolating you because that's what he did. So just let her know that you're always there.
So we
That's
were
what we
talking
can do.
about, yeah, we were talking about yesterday, we were talking about the other day, what makes a person stay in a marriage like that? And you said you have a list of things.
Yeah. One thing is fear. One thing is fear. Um, and we the threat of bodily harm
That's
and more emotional harm, that is powerful over a person who is being abused. And the fact that they are being that they feel controlled and trapped, all that's the fear. It's they are being terrorized. But sometimes their view of marriage is distorted.
Mhm.
Maybe they did not have loving parents. Maybe they did not know what it is to be a wife. They didn't learn that. Maybe they didn't know how to allow men to treat them or her or me, because they didn't see that.
Mhm.
You know, so they have a distorted view of marriage. The jealousy that they're experiencing, they think that's love. That's
Mhm.
not love.
Mhm.
And so they have a damaged self-worth also. I had a damaged self-worth. um, and it was unfortunate that I would feel like I deserved to be degraded and put down. So at some point I felt like I deserved it. um,
Mm.
so those are the reasons why they stay.
What does emotional abuse look like?
You can't see it, but you can feel it. One thing that you start feeling in the beginning is you're being isolated from your family and friends. That's the first thing that they feel, and that's painful when you can't talk to your family and friends. Uh, you- you're talking to your sister or your mama on the phone, and you hear him coming in. I gotta go, and you hang up, and you're having a good conversation. It first looks like isolation, and then it looks like blaming. You're being blamed for everything, including, I remember one time my daughter was 3 years old, and she locked herself in the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
So I was blamed for that. I was a bad mother. I was this, I was that. And I'm like, well, instead of focusing on how bad I am, get the girl out of the bathroom.
Yeah, that would be
What
nice.
you gonna do about that? And I can
Um,
laugh about that now, but that day, I felt really, really bad. It was a long time ago, but I felt
mhm.
really, really bad about that. But today, I can crack up about it, which is a good thing.
How
So,
detrimental is it for the entire family and the mentality of the family unit for emotional abuse to happen in the home?
well, the first thing I can think of is the sons. If there's sons in the home, they don't learn how to treat a woman in a loving manner. The scripture says to treat your wife with benevolence. And if they don't see that, then they will have a hard time treating their wives when they get wives with love and benevolence. And the daughters, they'll think it's okay too. And so they will allow themselves to be treated in this way or maybe worse because that's what they saw and that's what they experienced. And no matter what we tell our children, don't do this, do as I say, and not, not as I do, they're
Mhm.
going to do what you do.
Mhm.
What they see you experience and do, they're going to do the same thing. So that is detrimental because that creates um, a generational imbalance, a generational dysfunction.
Yes.
So yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. I remember when my oldest son. So this was a long time ago. Um, when before he was born, my husband used to call me stupid. It was like my name, a part of my name. My name wasn't Michelle. It was stupid.
Mhm.
And when it came close to the baby being born, I pleaded with him, you need to stop calling me that because this baby's going to think that's my name.
Mm.
So, those are some things that, makes abuse detrimental. Dysfunction is evil, and any evil is detrimental to any household. And it comes with so many different types of acts and so many different types of faces. I'm sure whoever's listening have some other examples. It's dysfunction and it's evil. It's not right, and it needs to stop.
Very well put. Now let's leave all of that heavy stuff for a minute
Yeah.
and let's talk. Let's shake
Yeah.
ourselves. And let's talk about those beautiful babies that you birthed. You
I
so proudly told me as
have
a mother some very important things, and I would like for you to share with the audience. Why? Because I want you to know that trouble does not last always.
it does
The
not,
children
man.
grow
There
up,
is
and then
joy cometh in the morning.
joy cometh in the morning. And joy is put in your heart when you see your labor, the fruit of your labor
Yes.
comes to fruition and
Yes.
they're all educated. Talk to me about your 5 children.